Then Campaign 7, which was the finale of Season 1, is... I forget what it's called. Royal Palace Rumble, that's what it is. And we have our new 4 characters ready to try and tackle what is effectively the most overpowered campaign that Jaden has ever spawned. We have our 4 characters who have been invited to experience a rumble of sorts inside a royal castle, hence the name. It has actually been called on by 3 very overpowered wizards, one of which has the Ahem hat, which is great, and they can all cast a stupid powerful Pyroblast, which is essentially Greater Pyroblast before Greater Pyroblast was invented. The 3 characters, not the 3, our 4 characters arrive on scene, and basically we are tasked with, this time, winning our way to the top. Essentially beating other groups to sort of win prizes, or at least that's what's been proposed to us. Our 4 characters this time are Zurojad, who I mentioned earlier was like one of the first characters to leave. He was the character who was intended to have a little bit more edge than the other characters. Ultimately failed because Jaden's character was super edge this time around, and the campaign itself was such a pain in the ass to our characters that he just sort of started to suck it up and become a very more mature, like he actually had a bit of a non-static round character dynamic change where he became a lot more caring, a lot more involved in the other characters' problems. He was an archer, he was a ranger, and yeah, he became a lot nicer near the end. Then we have Zuper's character. This time, she is an almost ready-to-retire female treasure hunter. Again, names elude me. Always elude me with Zuper's names. It's just absolutely terrible. Sorry, Zuper. All your names elude me. Torian was the name of his 5th character. I remember that. Or at least that was his last name. I don't remember. Was that either the bull or the main character? It seems like, oh my god, super your character names. Because he uses a name generator usually for half of them, so it's just impossible to remember the stupid names the name generator comes up with. But either way, we have Zuper's character, who was a retired treasure hunter, who's going to retire after this. She's basically a bone dancer, overpowered because she had the ability to steal life, steal stamina, or steal shield, essentially, and couldn't crit fail it. Very overpowered. We had Jaden's character, who rolled into becoming an adoptive child of high bears. So, though he wasn't a high bear himself, he was very overpowered, and he could basically Super Saiyan punch his way through the entire campaign. And finally, we had the one, the only, Apache Kelly Hopper, who is probably my favorite 4th character, I would say, at this point. Like, Seductor, I would almost count as a 4th character, and if so, he was pretty cool, but I really like Apache Kelly Hopper. He was essentially an old country twangin' warrior who did not have a lot of ability to cause damage, but he spent the entire time giving us chaos actions and guarding for us. He was an ultimate wall that existed to protect his friends. He was very noble, very chivalrous, very brave, just an ultimate fighter. So, through the campaign, we fight through 1 or 2 encounters where we have to fight another group. Then we come across Garrett's group. Garrett makes a reappearance. Garrett has joined into this campaign. Not any of the other members of Garrett's family. No. Not his wife. Not Sarakuna. Not his adoptive kid. Just Garrett. Because he's off having fun at the races while the rest of his family is off doing God knows what. I think they actually they do reappear later. Jaden makes them reappear later. So that's funny. I don't think Sarakuna reappears later, so I think Sarakuna never actually existed. I think this is the campaign that sort of confirms it. But either way, we have the fun that is Zephiel fighting Garrett. The very first part of the combat is that Garrett body slams me and would have essentially killed Zephiel. But Zephiel has the Earth Rokesh necklace. I believe it's the Child of Rokesh necklace, something like that. And what this allows him to do is survive with 1 stamina so long as someone else is alive. And as a berserker, Garrett survives with 1 stamina as long as his party is alive. So essentially what they're doing now is they're trying to high roll into each other, trying to knock each other out. They're having like this epic struggle where one false move will essentially knock them out. And Zephiel is ultimately the victorious. Our group is victorious overall, and Garrett is incapacitated because I believe he actually went mildly insane, tried to attack one of the leaders, and one of the leaders was able to suppress him. Or somehow we suppressed Garrett. I don't remember how. Point is, Garrett gets the shit pushed out of him, and he is now, for all intents and purposes, knocked out. And that's probably where I'm going to end off for right now. I'm going to continue this later, but there's more to Campaign 7, more to the rest of the campaign to describe. But for now, that is the start of RP. See you guys for the rest of this in Part 2. Alright, I'm back with Part 2 of U-Realms. I just started chewing gum. This was a stupid decision in hindsight. Oh, I guess I'm gonna have to swallow the gum then. It's good too, it's like peppermint gum. Okay. So, when we last left off, look, ooh. The hell? You just ran the fucking stoplight! What are you doing? Just like, whoosh. Okay, buddy. That's cool. That's cute. Dropping towards me 40 miles an hour. Past the stoplight. That's just cool. That's just cool, Mr. FedEx guy. Alright. Anyway, well, that was funny. A good way to start. Let's talk about what we were doing last time. Because we were doing Campaign 7, and I just mentioned that there was some fighting going on. I believe I mentioned the fight between Garrett and Zephiel. So, everyone's fighting, basically, and the fight wins. We are able to overpower Garrett and his group. Okay. And Garrett's in pretty bad shape. He's not very happy. He got fucked up pretty hard because he went a little bit insane and he started attacking the judges. So, that's already a bad move. We're curious how on earth he lived, and I'm pretty sure the entirety of this part, this section of the game, was made so Jaden could get revenge because I took Margaret 1 from him. Again, not my fault. The AI just naturally did that. The AI that I created. But that's beside the point. Jaden was more malicious here, clearly. Because, yeah. He actually let Garrett live. Okay, well, I got luckier dice rolls, I guess. Also, this seatbelt is blinding me. Of all things to blind you, it has to be the damn seatbelt. I'll have to start wearing sunglasses. Okay, there we go. So basically, Garrett's messed up, and our group moves onward, and we start tending to his care. We go into his room, and then a giant frog drops from the ceiling. No explanation, no reason, just a giant-ass frog. And our group does the intelligent thing and starts beating the shit out of it. This turned out to actually be the best thing in hindsight. Like, some of us were like, should we beat the shit out of this thing? Jaden was just wailing on it, so we're like, okay, well, if the GM says it's okay, then we might as well do it as well. And what ultimately happened from this is we were just barely able to beat the frog in a time limit that Jaden had kept secret, not revealed to us. And for doing that, our members got a ticket to a show. A very special show that I can't remember the name of. It's, I'll flash up on screen, but it's some type of show. I'm sure it's fun. That hasn't happened yet. I'm assuming that's going to be a later campaign. I don't remember what we all did with our tickets. Jaden's going. I think his character's going. Zuper's character is probably going. I might have given my ticket to Garrett. I don't remember. That would make sense, because Garrett's appeared more than any other member at this point. And that's it. That's really what happened there. So then we leave Garrett in his bed, and our group sort of merges with Garrett's group. Or at least some of the members do. Not like the fake members that he had, but like his past members. So we get Delodius Rex back, we get not Sarakuna, but we do get Jaden's emo kid. We get him back, even though he wasn't emo. We get this kid back. So what happens with that is we go into the back room of the castle. And in the back room, we basically get steamrolled when we, get a little ahead of myself, but that's the end of the story. We get steamrolled because we run into Jaden's most edgy character that has ever appeared in the World of U Realms. Now, I mean edge as in, like, he's a fucking knife blade. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if his name was Edge, which is ironic, because the only Edge I've ever met in a video game is from a character who isn't edgy in the slightest, and he's from Star Ocean, The Last Hope, International Edition, specifically, but he also appeared in the regular Xbox 360. You know, I'm getting off tangent. Look, this kid was edgy. I don't know what his name was. I forget what his name was. I think one of us, I rolled really low, so I assumed, my character assumed that this character was K6. He'd come back somehow from getting his shit pushed in by the mob boss, and he was actually overpowered. Like, that's what I assumed, and because I rolled a 1, I guess my character assumed it as well. So that was cute. So each of us just sort of start tiddlewinking with the guy. I get into an archery contest with him. I fire pretty well. I think I did pretty well. Then the fucker gets a 20, and he just stabs me with the fucking arrow. I'm like, what the... Like, yeah, he literally just rips a fucking arrow through my arm. So, for, like, the rest of the combat, I'm actually unable to fire arrow... Or was it my leg? I think it was my arm. And for the rest of the combat, I was unable to do anything. He just fucking shot me. And then... if he touches you with his right arm, he teleports you inside of himself. You know, like this weird pseudo fucking Kamui world. And whenever you get teleported there, you have to deal with the fucking robots from the 5th mission, essentially. And I got teleported there no less than like 3 times over the course of the whole thing. He was really trying to kill my character. He was pretty upset about Margaret. Somehow I managed to escape it all. But now we have this bigger problem, and that's called running away from K6 wannabe over here. So what we had to do was fucking book it, because this guy is overpowered as shit, and we all know it. So we start booking it, and he's creating slime walls to prevent our escape, except for Super and Jaden, who both have a teleporter spell, or the ability to run fucking faster than everyone else. So it's sort of like the situation, like, you know that thing with bears? You don't have to run fast. You just have to run faster than the person you're with. That's sort of what they did. So they essentially get the flying fuck out of there and leave me, Kelly Hopper, and Delodius Rex, and Jaden's own child to basically get wailed on by this guy who gets like 8 rolls per turn, does 20 damage when we each have like 70 health. Like, oh my god, he was fucking overpowered. So I have to deal with that. Zuber's having a Gale laugh. Jaden's having a Gale time. And I'm having a Gale sword stuck in my chest. And it's a good situation. Somehow, by sheer luck, we managed to get the hell into the main hall. And then the best thing that the judges could start doing is also running away for their life. Where they're saying, oh shit, yeah, that's the guy you're never supposed to interrupt. He just sort of lives here. We sort of built this contest around him. What the fuck? None of this can't make any sense. Also, that's a fun idea, but it's still awful, because even the judges who are overpowered are scared of this overpowered guy. So now they're throwing fireballs at him. They start throwing pyroblast at him. They start throwing random spells at him. And the best random spell to possibly cast in this instance, the absolute best one, is the fucking shadow spell. You know, the one where you roll a 1, you go insane? Yeah, that's a good one. That's a great spell. So guess what happens? Take a wild guess what happens. How many characters do you think went insane? Well, from what I can remember, I think the guy himself, K6, went insane. I think one of the judges went insane after one of the judges died. And then the other judges just throw a huge fucking pyroblast. I think it was like 2 of them at the K6 guy. Jaden rolls a fucking 20, so he cuts the pyroblast in half. I'm just like, are you fucking shitting me, Jaden? All this happens. All this. And in the end, Kelly Hopper gets blown apart by that same pyroblast that basically the guy cut in half. So Kelly Hopper's dead. Rest in peace, Kelly Hopper. He was the best character. And we all escape with our lives. All the other characters. By some luck of Jaden's pity or Jaden's relent, Garrett, even though he didn't actually leave his room with us, he's still knocked out in the bed. We just said, oh, hey, the K6 guy, yeah, he went back to his room. He didn't notice that there was Garrett in the bed over there. If he had, Garrett would be dead. I mean, there's no question about that. He's a berserker, but this guy gets 20s like it's his fucking job. So, we get through all that. And Jaden's like, oh, hell yeah, good job, guys. Now we need to have Kelly Hopper's funeral. And me and Zoop are just groaning at this. We're like, God damn it, Jaden, you just want to have the final boss encounter, don't you? So this is our first map that gets a second part to it. Yeah, there's a part 2 to this bitch. And in part 2, oh boy, do we have some fun. Because we basically get to go to Kelly Hopper's mansion. It turns out Kelly Hopper, despite having the country twang, is pretty loaded. So he has a mansion. So after a particularly awkward sex scene between Delodious Rex and Garrett, in which the entire room I'm not even going to comment on that one. Our entire group encounters some more dark fog, like they encountered in the last part of the map, the first part of Chapter 7's map. Whatever, Campaign 7. And now from the fog, starts running a bunch of different monsters. And they start breaking through the windows, they start breaking through the door. They're doing basically everything in order to fuck with us. And we fight. We fight a lot. Somewhere along the line, the kitchen caught on fire. Then it got flooded with water. I'm sure Kelly Hopper doesn't mind. So this poor bastard who went and died for our sins, he's basically the Jesus of our campaign. We have to deal with the fact, we have to accept the fact that we're getting his entire mansion overrun with all of Hell's beasts as they LARP on the door with everything that they have. And we succeed. We manage to beat down all the monsters, leading to the final part, the absolute final part, where we have to fight every single boss we've ever fought before. I'm like, God damn it, Jaden. Zuber was like, Jaden, before this campaign, I'll mention this. Before this campaign, Zuber said this. I swear to God, Jaden, if you just make a boss rush at the very end, I'll be very disappointed. Because it's really overdone and lame. And then Jaden made a boss rush at the very end. At the very least, all the bosses had a shitload less health. They were a joke to take out. I don't even remember what the first one... I think it was just a giant wolf. Which doesn't make any sense. Because the first campaign didn't even technically have a boss. Unless there was a giant wolf and I'm not remembering. Whatever. The wolf was a joke. Then we dealt with the Skelefalk, which was also a joke. I think we just aimed like an 18 at its head. And it's just like, oh yeah, he's dead. Okay, next boss. Then, like, the third one... I don't even remember. I think it was the fucking dragon. Or it might have been the Griffor. Again, it was also a joke. Or maybe Super didn't let him pull out the third one. Then the fourth dragon came out, and we just laughed at it. And then, like, we turned on the proper gravity, and then it was like, all right, you guys defeated it. The fifth, I think it was the giant robot thing. It was super easy because it didn't have any of its minions. Or maybe it did, I don't remember. The sixth was... I can't remember if he actually asked me to pull out Emperor Palpatine, but I think I did. I pulled out a couple Emperor Palpatines. They exploded. Nothing much happened. I think they took a chunk out of Kelly Hopper's house again. And then finally, we had to deal with the K6 wannabe, who definitely put up the biggest fight, but even not that much. We basically made a pun off the fact that the mansion had this giant black void in the center that was clearly just supposed to be paneling, but since it wasn't shaded to be anything, it was just like a black void. We pretended that the hole had a giant black hole in the middle of the house. So we basically took out the wall and we shoved, at least we tried to shove the K6 wannabe down the hole. I don't know if we ever actually did that, but we tried. Oh, I also forgot to mention, somewhere along the line, there was a guy that appeared who basically asked all of us for all of our money. And we're like, oh, sure, whatever, fine, Jaden. So, because this guy was basically demanding all our money, we gave him it. Then K6 rolled around, right? And he's like, haha, thank you for all your money. Now, I'll golden gun! So he was going to pull out the golden gun, and he was going to get a pretty decent roll, because I think he rolled for it, and he got a pretty decent roll, and he was going to fucking nail the K6 wannabe, and probably deal a good chunk of his health. And I'll take the blame for this one. I'm like, hey Jaden, are you sure he has a golden gun? That seems a little overpowered. But it'd be funny if he just came in and he was like, nah, I don't have a golden gun, I have a silver gun. Jaden's like, roll for it. So I rolled for it. I got a really shitty roll. And he's like, oh yeah, no, yeah, he has a silver gun. Sorry, Ross. Or he might have been like, oh no, it's even worse. He has a bronze gun. So he couldn't fire the gold. He's like, oh, well, I guess I'm worthless. So the guy just walks off. I don't remember if he, like, participated in the campaign. I think he was just upset and he went and walked on the couch and sat down. So we do manage to beat K6 wannabe. The lights come back on, the world is saved again, and that is the end of Season 1. We did it. We saved the world, sort of. So our group has successfully taken down K6, and that took a long time. See, there was a good, decent chunk of things to explain in Campaign 7. Maybe it's just that I remember a lot.